Hey there, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to Bold Badass Business. And today, we are in for a treat. We have Penelope Jane Smith in the house, and she is an international speaker, the creator of Financial Freedom 101, which is an incredible event. Woohoo! Financial Freedom 101. Let's hear it. She's a financial freedom fighter, especially like me. We work with men, but we really love working with women and seeing you become financially free. You know, I love to help you soar into six figures and more fast with fun. And Penelope loves to help you accumulate and increase everything that you have. So I'm so excited you're here. Welcome, Penelope.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here, Dr. Barnsley. And it's like a match made in heaven because you're helping these wonderful women make money, and then I'm helping them grow it because you really do need both. And then boom, we're the total package. I love it.
I love it. And you gotta earn it and you gotta hold on to it. That's the other thing, and grow it, right?
Yeah.
It's so important. So I know that there are just a million things that we can talk about because I have my books, Get Out of Debt, Get On with Your Life, Every Woman's Guide to Create Prosperity with What You Have Right Now. And you have these incredible programs, and there's just tons of stuff we can talk about. But let's talk about the reality for a second for women, why women can be some of the most poor people in the elderly populations in the United States. They are
Yeah. I mean,
more women.
the latest stats, according to Bloomberg, is that 80% of people approaching retirement in the United States don't have enough money to retire comfortably, and only 3% can actually support the lifestyle they want. So you're looking at a massive amount of people who can't retire at all, or who are going to have to decrease their lifestyle to be able to make it work. And that's not what you want after working hard all your life. Okay. And that's in general. Then you take women specifically. All right. 86% of financial advisors are men. And most of these traditional financial planning models are supposedly gender neutral, but they're based on the average person, which they're actually basing it on the average man. So there's an inherent gender bias in the financial planning industry, like in a lot of industries. Did you know that seatbelt safety testing done on the average person is actually done on the average man also?
Yep.
And so what's happening is more women get injured and die from seatbelts than men do.
And we die from diseases because most of the testing, most of the studies are still done with more male subjects than women.
Yeah, and all of the signs they tell you to look up for a heart attack are the signs of a heart attack in men. It's messed up. So that the same thing is happening in the financial industry. The models aren't taking into account the differences in our lifespans, our career paths, our financial goals. And so what ends up happening is that women end up with less money at retirement, but it has to last us longer. And when you add to that the fact that it's difficult for women to even make as much, especially since we still do the majority of the unpaid labor, even though now I think at least 25% of women are the breadwinners in their household now, and we're still doing the majority of the unpaid labor. So it's like, it's a lot.
And we're using what we have to take care of other people, especially if you're like me. I'm a single mom, right? So there's no sugar daddy, there's no sugar partner. I'm taking care of what I got to take care of. And as women, we are socialized to be nurturers, right? And we're socialized. I was just on the podcasters cruise, Penelope, and I was with my fabulous roommate. Loved her, Tony Maria Kaufman. She's a wild one. But everywhere we went, she was popping dollars in for all the people who were out on the street homeless. And that's us as women, right? Or we're buying meals for the homeless. We're just thinking about other people, and we're socialized into that. So we leave the workforce sometimes. Some of us do, to take care of kids. We leave the workforce to take care of parents. And guess what? We miss out on lots of years of paid labor. I'm glad you talked about unpaid labor.
Yeah. On the other hand, the good news is your money can work a lot harder for you than you can work for it. So if you learn not only the wonderful make money strategies that you teach, but also some of these grow money strategies that you're going to start learning
Mhm.
here, you can get your money on your side working for you so you don't have to work as hard, and help you kind of like make up that gap, just with some basic money systems, some basic financial education, which for the most part is not taught at home or in
Right.
school growing up, and especially not to little girls, which is infuriating.
It really is. It's one of the reasons I started educating myself when I finished my PhD. I put myself through, and then I had my first teaching job, and I was making all of like $33,000 a year. It's back in the 90s, but still, I had to, and I still managed to pay off all my education. Whoop, cats just did something. Did y'all hear that? That's exciting. Don't know what happened there, but I paid off my all of my educational loans, just with great money stewardship, and I started educating myself. I started with books like Your Money or Your Life, Joe Dominguez. What a great book. I read books like Wishcraft, with Rhonda Shear, and I read Personal Finance for Dummies and Investing for Dummies. I just started with some very basic things and went to a lot of financial seminars, a lot of things offered through the Unity Church, which were fabulous. And, learned that this whole way we've set up our finances has made people slaves to debt in the United States.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad you mentioned Your Money or Your Life. That's one of my go-to favorites. And I actually got to be on a panel with Vicki Robin. We were being interviewed by the Shift Network. So that was like so cool to get to like be here with her, be on a panel with her, and be like, this is one of my like maybe top 10 go-to financial books that I recommend. So that's awesome.
You know what? It was one of the major reasons that I determined, when I went in and actually added up what I was spending on the professional attire, on commuting, on meals, on all the stuff, the memberships I needed to be this scholar and, educator at Wake Forest University. And I also taught at Duke and UNC Chapel Hill. Well, I found out that I was making all of about $6 or $7 an hour. And
Yeah.
what happened in my head was I was like, why not start my own business? You
Yeah,
know?
totally. That real hourly wage is powerful. My favorite part of that book is the fulfillment curve, the relationship
Mhm.
between making money and happiness or fulfillment, and realizing that in the beginning, more money correlates to more happiness, but there comes a point where more money actually correlates with less happiness. And it makes sense if you think about it. I used to think I wanted to have like a second home in Venice and Las Vegas and Spain and Japan and a purple Ferrari and my own jet and all this stuff. And like now, having owned 35 rental properties all over the United
Mhm.
States, I understand that there's a maintenance energy as well as a financial cost to like having things. And I'm like, how often am I really going to go to all those places anyway? Like for a fraction of that, I could just go pay for a really nice vacation, go wherever I want, not have the liability, the expense, the hassle. So like really tuning into your financial freedom vision, that's like that enough and then some vision, to determine
Mhm.
how much passive
Yes.
income from your investments you actually need to be financially free. I think the only bummer about that book is it doesn't really teach you to invest. Like the only thing they talk
It
about
doesn't. No.
is bonds that pay almost nothing. And it's like that's not even going to keep up with inflation. So
Yeah.
it's very, very, very difficult to become financially free with that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it doesn't, but it just the idea of, as you point out, of how much is enough?
Mhm.
And I too have rental properties, and guess what? There comes a certain level and you're like, "Oh God, are you kidding? The washing machine is backed up in this one and oh, that one's going to need painting once this tenant moves out." It becomes a suck sometimes. And people talk about real estate as passive, and they talk about passive income. I believe there's not really any completely passive income,
Yeah.
but there are things that can kind of be on cruise control for a while, and real estate, carefully chosen, can be that. So what
Yeah.
do you think? What do you think about passive income? Is it really passive?
I actually did a video on my YouTube channel, if you check Penelope Jane Smith on YouTube, called The Truth About Passive Income. And
Mm,
the truth is that there's a spectrum or a
mhm.
range of passive, right? There's like savings on there's like interest on your savings account, right? That's about as passive as you can get.
Yeah.
And then there's rental property, which, as you know, is not completely passive. There is a hassle factor. Like even if you have a property manager, you still have to manage the manager. I've had stuff happen like people steal the pipes out of my buildings and repair
Yes.
city assessments, and like even having good property managers in place, there's still just like, stuff to manage and deal with. But at the end of the day, whether you're creating, passive or even semi-passive income streams, it's still worth it, because you're leveraging your time and your energy to
Heck
ultimately
yeah.
have your assets take care of you. But I think it is good to go in with that realistic expectation of how passive is this particular investment, right?
And also to ask yourself, will this coordinate with some of the other things I do? Because one of the most interesting things I got into some years back is I had this big house, and after I divorced, I was like, and it was my house before, by the way. And it's my house now. And I was like, but I'm not using parts of it. And it kind of gets lonely when my daughter's with her dad sometimes. And well, why don't I just do Airbnb? I'll have Airbnb rooms. And because I'm very close to UNC and the hospital, I have 2. And so I get medical students and I get one is like a little suite upstairs and then another is downstairs. And thanks to a flood, joy, there's a joy with real estate. I have a brand new third full bathroom downstairs because of a flood. But what's great is the people who come in are just educated, interesting people, and some of them become my clients. And also, when my clients are coming for trainings and like VIP Reiki days, guess where they stay? Because I give them a great deal and they stay right here and we get to know each other better. And it's warm and it exposes my daughter to people from all over the world, which is very important to me that she be a global citizen and understand that financial freedom is for everyone and not just people in the United States, right? So it's just been a wonderful experience. And the funniest thing, Penelope, is I was out using trusted house sitters, which I love because we have a lot of rescue animals. And I also just love to take care of animals, horses and whatnot, and go places and do this. But a lot of people, when I go and do this, they're thinking about Airbnb. So I mentioned what I do, and then they're like, well, would you take a look at this? So I leave them 4 or 5 pages of notes and let them know that they can hire me to set up their Airbnbs and that I'll make sure they get great people. I will write it in such a way that they don't get riffraff and they don't have problems. In over 6 years, I've only had 2 guests I didn't like. That was it. That's it, Penelope. And there's a reason because of the way I wrote it, the marketing copy and the pictures and everything else. So, and the way it's arranged and the titles, all of this has to be optimized so that you're going to be booked out. But the funny thing is then they hire me for that. So you just never know where things are going to lead you. And I enjoy doing it. It's
Yeah.
just a source of extra it's fun for me, but it's also extra income when at times.
Yeah, it's fantastic. One of my clients, we talked about the Airbnb idea because there's a lot of different ways to leverage Airbnb, even if
Yes.
you can't rent your place, like what you're doing, like partnering with other people. I mean,
Yes.
there's so many things you can do with it. But one of my clients, and she lives in this beautiful town in Colorado that a lot of tourists like to come to, and she loves to travel. She's like, well, why not just rent it out where I'm traveling? So like the Airbnb kind of funds her travelpreneur lifestyle where she gets to just go travel and explore and have fun. And she got to the point where if someone wants to rent her place for a certain amount of time, she'll go find somewhere to travel,
You'll just go somewhere.
And it's just been really wonderful and given her a level of freedom, just leveraging that asset that wasn't really being monetized before, right?
And she also wanted to go places and, it's much better to have people that in your, good people and you get reviews on Airbnb and there are ways to write things so you get great people and then you don't get riffraff and you feel good about having somebody in your house while you're abroad.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. Well, today I know we're getting into some extra stuff for y'all about passive income, but we're going to talk about our big topic is what your financial planner won't tell you about getting rich. And see, here's the thing, my financial person, she's great. She is an independent fiduciary. And one of the first questions I asked her, because I'm me, Penelope, is I was like, well, what's your net worth? And I wanted to hear what she said, which was several $1,000,000, right? And I said, okay, that's good. That's good. Here's the thing. A lot of the people in the H&R blocks of finances. Is that a nice way to put it? The H or Jackson Hewitts, of finance, a lot of them are not rich.
Well, I actually don't, if I don't necessarily think that they have to be rich to provide guidance, right? That's
Right.
fine. If somebody just came out of school and became a certified financial planner and started working with clients, they might not have millions in their net worth
That's
yet.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a big problem with that. I don't have a big problem with financial advisors charging fees or anything. What I have a problem with is that the term financial advisor doesn't really mean anything. Like, you don't, like a fiduciary, okay, that means something. A certified
Yes.
financial planner, that means something. There's a certification there, there's a responsibility there, but anybody can call themselves a financial advisor, which I don't. I say I am not a financial advisor. I do not sell financial products. I could, but I don't, because I want to distinguish myself from, like, this is
Yeah.
unbiased financial education and guidance,
Right.
right? To empower people to be like, you are always going to be the steward of your money, even if you have somebody help you with it. So my big pet peeve, well, two. So one thing that they won't tell you is that a lot of financial advisors are just people who work for insurance companies. And I know this firsthand because I was training with $1 trillion company, and I was so excited because I'd been running a mortgage company and, offering refinances and purchase loans. And I really understood the mortgage world. And I took a
Mhm.
real, like, financial planning approach to it to help people see how their mortgage fit into their overall picture. And I was like, wow, wouldn't it be so cool to be able to offer, insurance and investments to people too? So I started training with this company, and I was getting my, life insurance license, and all the training they were giving me was on, can you guess?
Mm.
Sales.
Oh, interesting.
I wasn't really learning about how the ins and outs of different insurance policies and the ins and outs of different investments. I was just learning
It
to,
wasn't strategy.
it was like network marketing, which, again,
Yeah.
like,
Oh
network marketing
gosh.
has its place, but it was all about, like, make a list to your family and friends, hook them
Mhm.
up with your, you had like a mentor supervisor person, and that person would come and try to, like, close your family and friends, and again, like, that can be fine in some ways as a marketing um strategy, but because I understood the mortgage world really well,
Mhm.
when they gave my aunt a quote on her refinance, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is such a ripoff." Because, like, I knew, like, that should not be the rate, those should not be the points, because I
Yeah.
understood mortgages inside and out, and I'm like, if they're ripping people off on the mortgages, they're probably ripping them off on the insurance and stuff too. I'm out.
Yeah.
So there was that aspect. But even if it wasn't a ripoff, the thing is, if you're working for an insurance company like that, you're going to offer products that aren't always the best fit for people, because it's all your
Exactly.
license to sell, right? So if that's the only way you make money, it's like, that's a big problem. That's a big problem to me. So I don't like insurance people calling themselves financial advisors. And then the other thing that I think most of them won't talk about is 98% of actively managed funds, 98% of people who are, like, living and breathing, and their
Mhm.
sole goal in life is to beat the market, right? This is, like,
Mhm.
what they do. 98% of them cannot do it net of fees, which means that most of the time you're better off just buying an S&P 500 index tracking fund and letting it go, right?
Go girl. That's what I talk about in my one of my books. I talk about the index funds because they're very low fees and they track according to the different indices. And the
Yeah.
other thing is get yourself a robo fund. Most actively managed fees managers cannot outperform those, sadly.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and especially, like, net of fees, right? So I do know of financial planners that can, outperform net of fees, and that is fine. And of course, they can also help you with other aspects of financial planning. But I think that there's this myth, or there's this idea that, like, oh my god, finances and investing, it's so complicated. And I think it's because that whole Wall Street industry, like, they try to
Yeah.
make it
It's
sound really
mystified. They
complicated.
want to mystify it.
And you're also talking about, like, we're being programmed to be nurturers. Like, how many programs do we get about, like, oh, girls aren't good at math, and we don't
Yes.
understand investing, and we're like, oh, I don't understand this, so let me just give my power over to this man who acts like he knows what he's doing. And it's
Mm.
like, no.
Oh no.
You are a
Stop.
You are a smart, successful woman. And just because you're not confident in this particular area doesn't mean that you can't get a little bit of education and at least match, if not outperform, what that dude could do. And most of them,
Okay.
they
So
just
I got
have
to pause you for a second. I got to say something. Did everybody hear the word education? All right. Education. It starts there. And you can do, I know I did a lot of the Millionaire Mind trainings. They were absolutely wonderful. T. Harv Eker, that stuff. I've done other various ones, but get education. And also, if you're going to get a financial advisor, which is fine, get an independent one who is kind of like a mortgage broker. They have access to their, actually mine doesn't sell products, and I chose that, right? She sells no products. She sits and talks with you about what you want your life to be, how you want your life to be. How do you want your best days to be? What do you want your day to be filled with? Where do you want to go? How much money are you spending now? How much do you think you'll need? Or do you want to travel? Where do you want to downsize? Do you maybe even want to get rid of your house and just rent? What is it that you want your life to be? And that was what I found so compelling, because her questions really made me think. And then from there, she developed a plan using special software to show me what I needed to fill in to make it happen. But she's and she's also fiduciary. Why don't you explain, because I'm sure you can explain it way better than me. What is a fiduciary? Because that's also nice to find.
Yeah. So fiduciary means that it is their responsibility, it is their duty to act in your best interest, right? So if I go to a financial planner that is not a fiduciary and I say, I want to get an annuity, can you help me get an annuity? They'll be like, sure, because the commission on those is like 4 times as much as some
Yes.
of the products that might be as a good fit, right? A fiduciary will say, okay, let's maybe, let's look at your goals and look at what you're trying to accomplish and see if that's actually the best fit for you, right? So they are legally required to put your interests before their own. I have another video on my YouTube channel, which is like how to find the right financial advisor. And it's like, here's the 6 things to ask, here's the things to look for. So I prefer somebody that's certified. I prefer somebody that's a fiduciary. Ideally somebody that's fee-based, because if they're selling you financial products, it's just like there's such an inherent conflict of interest in that, right? It's like, are they going to sell you the thing where they make $50, or are they going to sell you the thing where they make $5,000? And what really upsets me is all these people trying to sell whole life insurance policies as like, an investment. And I think that there's like a time and a place for pretty much every investment vehicle, but those things, like half of that first year or more just goes right to the insurance person's commissions, and I don't know anybody that doesn't sell that stuff that thinks it's a good idea,
Now that's interesting. That's very interesting, because I've heard all sorts of things like, well, whole life, universal life is what you need to pass wealth on. It really is great, but it's not for everybody. It's not for everyone.
It's for people who make so much money that they can afford to buy crappy investments and still be okay. That's my that's the way that I look at it. No, but it's more like,
I love that.
it's more like the cherry on the top. Right? So like when you've maxed out your other things, like you've maxed out your tax deferred retirement accounts and maybe even an HSA and like maybe some real estate, and you're like, okay, I want some diversification into a different thing, then okay, maybe. But they have all these concepts, which I love, like cash flow banking or infinite banking, like be your own bank. I'm like, oh, sign me up. I love that. But I can just never get it to pencil out. And I've taken courses and I've read books and I've consulted the people. I spent like way more time than I ever think a person should have to, like really diving into the illustrations and the examples and the number crunching. And I'm like, there might be some way that this works, and I am open to it because I like the concept, but I have not found it yet. That's
yeah. I hear you. Yeah. And this is the kind of stuff that they're going to get in Financial Freedom 101.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Woo! Financial freedom
Woohoo!
101.
Tell us
Absolutely.
about the box. The box. Tell us about
Yes, so
Financial Freedom 101.
this is the experience that goes with the Financial Freedom 101 event. So it is my signature 3-day online event. So you can attend from anywhere in the world. It's really fun and interactive. So time flies by. Don't have to worry about being on Zoom for too long. But the idea is that in just 3 days, you get the financial education that you should have gotten at home or in school growing up. You get the money skills, tools, and systems you need to become financially free forever. And you get to keep those skills for the rest of your life. So if you think about how much time and money you've put into your formal education, your professional education, is it worth investing 3 days of your time in financial education? The answer is yes. Okay. The answer is yes. And we do go deep into investment strategy at that event. So if you want to feel really confident as an investor, 3 days and there you are, you know?
And that's fabulous, because most people, like you say, it's mystified, and they think, oh, this will, and some of the places that you go for education, some of the strategies they're teaching is like, oh God, no, no, I'm not going to get a whole bunch of, I'm not going to finance my real estate with credit cards. Oh no, hell no. There's just some stuff out there, you all, that you got to be really careful. And maybe it could work in certain instances. Maybe it could if you're flipping houses. Maybe it could if you can flip something really super fast and make a big profit. But you got to be so careful.
Yeah,
Trust. Yeah.
there's like the super conservative, like Dave Ramsey
Yeah.
side, where he's like, pay off all your debt before you start to invest, even if you buy real estate, like pay cash for it. And like that's going to take a long time. So obviously it'll work given enough time. A lot of the people I work with are women that are like 50s, 60s, 70s. So I don't know that they'll live long enough to implement the Dave Ramsey plan. That's the problem. So I think it
Right.
can be.
Plus, he's been bankrupt, FYI.
Well, I have too. I actually don't think that goes against somebody. Like I took $10,000 of my own money, turned it over 6 million in real estate, and then lost everything in the real estate
Mm,
crash. I was forced to
mm.
claim bankruptcy and have
Oh
to
my.
rebuild everything. And I become a much better investor and a much better mentor and a much better person as a result.
Mm.
So I think that going through an experience of that, if you're harvesting lessons and sharing them like he is,
Yeah. Yeah.
zero problem. I have zero problem with that. On the other hand, if you have somebody that's never faced any challenges in their life and they're like, oh, just manifest money, you're like, okay. Like, I have respect for people who've been through challenges and overcome them. So I don't take that as against him. I just think it's a very conservative approach,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But that sort of thing takes a long time. And most of the people I work with don't have 30, 40 years to work that out. On the other hand, you have these like super wheeler dealer, ultra leverage, buy that credit card on a house, which I've done. I've done that. But, that's fine until something goes wrong, like it did with me.
Yeah.
Like I did not cause the subprime mortgage
Yeah.
crisis, just
Yep.
to be
Yep.
clear, but I was very much impacted by it,
Yes.
and we were in contract to close on a multi-unit in the southern United States. It was going to be like $400,000 in profit. Yay, right? And people pulled out of the contract at the last possible second. And meanwhile, everything was falling down. And what happened?
Mm.
It just felt like overnight. So it was this whole domino effect. So I think that you can be too conservative, and I think that you can also over leverage. And I come from a place of striking a balance,
Yes.
and doing what makes sense and making educated guesses, and also hedging against risk and loss in case something doesn't go the way you think it's going to go.
Yeah. And one of the things I love to talk with people about, Penelope, is like, people say, I don't have the money to invest. That's not true.
Mm,
You have allocated your money to other things. And if you spend a little time with me, I'm going to help you find the drains,
yeah.
things that are not aligned with who you are and what you care about. Maybe you've got memberships you're not using. Maybe you have subscriptions to stuff. Maybe you have cable and you don't even need it. And you have these things that you've been being charged for. And usually, or maybe you're doing stuff like going and having your hair done for $300. This is a client of mine, by the way, a former client who was having her hair done because her hair was difficult, she said, and she was having it done every month, and it was costing her like $250. And I said, well, what would happen if you were just to cut it down to every 6 weeks? And do you know that saved her $2,500 for that year when we did it? Oh, yeah. So don't tell me you don't have the money. Tell me, be real. You're spending your money, you're letting your money drain out in ways that are not good. Maybe you're smoking cigarettes or smoking something else, and you're buying that, there are all sorts of unhealthy habits that we all have, whether it's shopping or, drinking, whatever we do, that are causing us, that are draining us. And
Yeah.
we've got to,
And
be
on the
aware.
other, there might be opportunities to increase the income side as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to say is it's not I'll invest when I have the money, it's I'll have the money when I invest.
Yes.
Because once you get yourself into that prosperity cycle where your money is making more money for you, hey, that's where we want to be, right?
Mhm.
My money's generating money. That money's generating more money. That money, your money can work harder for you than you can work for it. It doesn't need to sleep. It doesn't need to eat. It can just work for you 24/7, like making babies, and those babies have babies. And it's this wonderful prosperity cycle, this wonderful snowball. And like that's the cash flow pattern you want to get into. And you can get into it with $1. You can start small and then go up from there. I started my my permanent wealth account with $50 in a savings account and went on from there. So I wouldn't wait to start investing because you want to. There's a few good reasons. One is just building that muscle of investing month in, month out. Like I am
Mhm.
doing this consistently over time. If you can automate it even better, like set up an auto transfer that
Yes.
shows like you'll be able to increase your savings by like 81% by setting up an auto transfer. Anytime you can automate your smart money decisions, it is a good thing. So setting up a
Yes.
separate account for investing, auto transferring into it where you can't spend it, like taking the time to do that one time is going to continue to benefit you, indefinitely. So that's a wonderful place to start, and then increase the auto transfer as you go.
And it's really what they call dollar cost averaging, like you're going to choose a certain amount. It might just be $20. It might be $50, and you're going to put it in on a regular basis every month. I love the auto draft too, because just consider it one of your, I never pay bills, by the way. I don't pay bills. I pay contributions. I
I
don't pay
call it
bills. I don't even use that word.
I call it expressing appreciation.
I love that. Mine are, yeah, it's like what's the money, the Japanese money thing, I forget, the arigata or whatever. Thank you to the money. There's a fellow who wrote this great, article, and every time he uses his money, he's like arigata, which is like thank you, money. Or anyway, it infuses the money with gratitude. We've just chosen paper. Like if we were in Botswana, we would use chickens and other livestock. We've chosen paper to circulate. That's what we've just decided on, and soon it may be all digital. You know, but it's really a representative of something else. And what do you believe in your mindset? Do you believe that there's abundant substance? Do you believe that you can always have that $1 million or multi-million-dollar idea? You know, what do you believe? Or do you believe you're limited, that you're always going to be stuck in that job working for the man?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is like if you want to create financial freedom for yourself, then why would you ever give up on that dream? Right?
Yes.
Like the only way to fail is to quit. So I like the definition of success. Like success is the consistent pursuit of a worthy goal. you
Mhm.
know so it's like if that's important to you, if freedom is one of your values, why not go for it? Why not keep going for it? Even if you never make it happen, like wouldn't you rather go for it than just like give up on your dream, and like then you're definitely never going to get it.
Yeah. And you may be, one of those very poor women and, retirement. I get really sad when I see the people who are, say, working at those, at Walmart or whatever, and they're 75, you know? and I've actually had a few people in my Airbnb who were elderly who really, I had people who actually I told my I let my neighborhood know, and they were bringing them food, and it was very sweet, and I was also giving them food too. I had someone who stayed here for a while, and we just loved him. It's kind of like a grandpa.
Yeah.
Um, but he'd lost his life savings. He had been suckered out of it.
Mm.
Not to mention all the financial scams that are out there right now, that we all need to be very aware of. So again, that word education is important, and knowing that someone does have your best interest. And at least, if they're not selling you a product, there's a better chance of that. Like they're going to, it's kind of like when you go with a personal shopper, you could go to Talbot's, right? I'm not so much a Talbot's girl, by the way, or you could go to Chico's, right? You probably you probably like Chico's, right? You're kind of fun and
I haven't
boho.
been to Chico's, but my mom likes it, so I've
Yeah.
heard of it.
That makes me feel old. It's okay though. But you go into Chico's, and if somebody's making a commission, obviously they're going to try to sell you all sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, that looks great on you. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But if you go, because they're making a commission, but if you go with a personal shopper who you've paid a flat fee to go with you, they're going to tell you, that leopard print with the polka dots is not doing you any favors, honey.
Yeah.
And they'll be real with you. The same is true in finance.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things we talk about at Financial Freedom 101 too is like how to actually evaluate, like if your
Mhm.
financial planner is doing a good job, so you can actually like visually see their performance without having to do any math. So if you aren't in a position where you can hire a fee-based financial planner and you're working with somebody on commission, you can still evaluate how they're doing and if it's worth sticking with them or if it's better to just use a robo advisor or just go into an index tracking fund and be done with it. And I really like, again, I have zero problem with financial planners charging their fees. I just want to see some benefit to that, right?
Yes.
So
Right.
if they're not even able to like do what the market is doing net of fees, and it's like, well, that's just stealing from your financial future. Sometimes hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd be better off like letting them go and then sending them a check for $10,000 every year, being like, I'm sorry I left you. So you get the tools to actually be able to evaluate that at the event if you choose to join us.
That's great. Yes. So these events are happening a couple of times a year, 2 or 3 times a
Yeah,
year?
we do it like 1 to 3 times a year. Yeah, and
Mhm.
we put together an ebook called The Financial Freedom Formula. It's a free download. It's like a really quick read. It's bite-sized but powerful, and it'll walk you through the 2 types of passive income, how to get more of each, how to apply the financial freedom formula in your own life so you know exactly what it'll take for you to be financially free. And it's you could probably read it in 10 minutes, but it's
I've read it.
oh,
It's a quick read, and it's very good. And they
yeah.
can get that. Tell them where it is so they can get it.
Yeah, so Dr. Barnsley has a magic link, which I mean, I don't know where you want to share the link, but when you use Dr. Barnsley's link, what'll happen is, first of all, you'll be able to request the Financial Freedom Formula ebook. You just click the gold button, boom, you can download the ebook on the next page. And then also on the next page, you can get a full scholarship to Financial Freedom 101. So that I'm giving you the loophole, because if you just go to my website after hearing this and you look me up
Mhm.
online, it is $497. And people
Mm.
find me through podcasts, through documentaries that I've been on, through YouTube or whatever, and they'll just come and buy tickets. Okay, great. But with this link, I'm telling you the workaround where
Woohoo!
it's a $97 seat deposit, which you get back. We ask for the seat deposit because we send out materials in the mail, and we don't want to do that if you're not planning to come. So if you can't come after all, let us know. We'll refund you. If you come to the event, we'll refund you the week after. If you just disappear and flake on us, we'll keep your money because we sent out your workshop materials, which I think that's more than fair, don't you?
I think it's totally fair. I'm glad you do that, because the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is that's somebody's incentive to go and to have your life changed, right? You're
Yeah.
going to have your life changed.
And,
And so if you know you're going to get your 97 back, I mean, for goodness sakes, just go show up for yourself, show up for your life, show up for your family, show up for your kids who will want to see that they could have financial prosperity.
Yeah. So if you're already a financial expert, you're a money coach or a financial planner, or you already have a net wealth and millions of dollars, like this is going to help you master the fundamentals. You're going to get great tools and insights. The $97 probably doesn't worry you. If you are earlier on in your journey and the $97 is a problem, let us know and we'll register you manually. We're not trying to make money on seat deposits. Okay.
You're not going to make money on $97.
This is a big part of our philanthropy, getting financial education out into the world. And as part of our DEI initiatives, we do have a number of like just completely free scholarship seats. So if you are in a situation where even the $97 would cause hardship, let us know and we'll just register you. No big deal. It's just we ask for that accountability. That's all.
Oh, I've got somebody I need to send you. I do. It was someone I had the most powerful enrollment conversation with, and I know I could help her, but she just could not see the way to invest in herself.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't want to make this sound like this is only for people in financial crisis. This is basically there's a spectrum of financial experience all the way from being in financial crisis to like wealth building and legacy and like planning your estate. And so the tools at this event, it's going to help you move along that spectrum. So if you already have a significant portfolio, you are going to love the investment distinctions. Oh my God. And really help you fast track, shave years off of your journey to financial freedom. And if you are earlier in the spectrum, it's going to help you have the tools to navigate that and move forward. So don't feel like you have to have a lot of money to attend the event, and don't feel like you have to be poor to attend the event. This is going to give you the tools you need to move you forward along that.
It'll meet you where you are.
Exactly.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, I want to ask you one more thing, Penelope. And by the way, I just want to tell y'all, I'm going to be going to Penelope's event, not the next one, but the one after that, because I'm already committed at something else on the dates that are coming up. But I'm going to go to another one, and I have heard great things from one of my clients about it. She attended. Yeah. So you all don't want to miss. I mean, good Lord, you're just putting your $97 balance. Well, you have to use the magic link, which I will put in the comments or it depends on where you are listening or watching this, but it'll be somewhere in the description or comments for you. So use that. Otherwise, as Penelope said, when you go to her website, you're going to pay $497.
Which, let's be honest, it's still totally worth it. If all
it's still worth it.
If all this gave you is one tip that helped you have an extra million at retirement, like no problem.
But it's going to, no problem. But it's going to make me happy to know, and Penelope too, that you heard this, that you actually listened to this interview and you said yes to yourself. And you said yes to the fact that you desire and deserve to be financially free. You do. And it's actually, I have to say one more thing, Penelope, and that is, I watched my mother struggle, right? Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I watched her struggle with 3 children, really, me, my brother, and then my father, who was an alcoholic and just kind of out of it and couldn't keep a job. And I watched my mother very creatively navigate all of this, right? But it made me determine, and I'm sure much of my entrepreneurial self I talk about this. We used to go and pull, we lived in a nice neighborhood, but we basically gutted this house because it was a mess. And now it's a multi-million-dollar home, but we got it and it was a mess and we cleaned it up. Well, we would go around the neighborhood on trash pickup days, Penelope, and we would get antiques people threw out, maybe the cat had peed on it, whatever. And we refurbish these things and we'd have these huge sales. And my brother, my mother, and I would do this, and it was a lot of fun. But she was resourceful, right? And this is one of the things I believe we can all be, is resourceful. You have sources of income in your very backyard. It might be that art hobby you have, you like beading, or it might be just mowing yards, for goodness sakes. There was a guy with no arms in Chapel Hill who mowed yards, Penelope. He had no arms. He's passed away since, but he was written up in the newspapers. I mean, if a guy with no arms can mow yards and make his living and make a good living and be known in the newspaper, can't you do that? I just get very tired of the people who are like, well, I don't have money and da da da. It's just a big excuse. It's a lazy excuse. You're the one responsible for that. So you need to get your butt over to Financial Freedom 101 and learn, get some education. What I was going to ask you, I kind of went on a rant, didn't I, Penelope? I went on a rant there, y'all. Okay, I went on a rant. I do that sometimes. Penelope, what are the biggest mistakes? This is the last question I really want us to get into. What are the biggest mistakes other than not asking the questions they need to ask, about the financial planner, which they can find in your YouTube videos? What are the big mistakes people make with money?
Okay, with money, that's a big topic. So a few of the big mistakes I see people make is abdicating responsibility versus delegating. Like it's fine to get a babysitter, to help with your kid, but like to just send your kid off to be raised by somebody else, that's not going to be great. And so I see a lot of people abdicating responsibility of financial planners, like, oh, I don't understand this stuff, so let me just fork it all over to you. Yeah, clearly, it's too complicated for me. So that's one thing, is just realizing that you are the steward of your money, even if you have somebody to support you with it. Like, you don't have to be a financial planner. You don't have to be a tax preparer. You don't have to go become an expert in that thing. You just need to know a little bit. You just need to know enough to be able to like tell that the advice that they're giving you is good, right? And have an intelligent conversation. That's it. So that's one thing, is like, you are the steward of your money no matter what. And if you are in a coupleship where you share finances, you are still the steward of your money. Because like maybe your partner handles all the finances now, but what happens if they're not able to do that? Like some kind of health problem, or, they pass away or whatever. And then like, you're just helpless, right? So that's something, is to just like really own that, and not in a bad way. Realize like, just like learning how to make béarnaise sauce or whatever, like these are all learnable skills. Learning how to manage and invest your money is completely learnable, and you can even be fun, right? Like I really do my best to make it fun and lighthearted, because somehow we've all, like, a lot of people carry a lot of like shame and judgment on money. One of my team members likes to say that shame means should have already mastered everything. And it's like, excuse me, in all your formal education and all your professional education, unless you're a CPA or financial planner or something like that, you are given pretty much zero education or resources in terms of personal finance, in terms of managing and investing your money. Oh, here's no resources. And by the way, it's taboo to talk about this in most families and communities. So we're not going to give you an education. We're not going to give you any resources. We're not going to talk about it. And somehow you're supposed to just magically figure it all out. No, that's not how it works. You need to like learn how to do this stuff, but it is learnable, just like everything else you've learned in your life, from riding a bike to how to cook to how to drive a car. Like you can do it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, sometimes when we talk about passive income, because when I talk about financial freedom, again, there's a spectrum of financial freedom, all the way from being able to pay your bills to getting out of debt, if that's a goal of yours, to paying off your house, if that's a goal of yours, all the way to the final milestone, which is where your passive income from your assets and your investments covers all your expenses. So that's where I'm going with this. So when people say they want passive income, a lot of times they start looking for something that has a dividend or yield, because they're like, it has to come as like a check or a deposit. And that's just not true. So they look for things like bonds or dividend stocks or annuities, because they want that passive income. And those things, again, right tool for the right job, like those can be good in some situations, but I often see them used for the wrong thing. And what that's doing is just like massively slowing down people's ability to build wealth, and really jeopardizing their financial future, right? Which is the opposite of what they're trying to do. So again, a little financial education goes a long way. Like if you're investing in real estate or like the stock market, and where you kind of like sell off some of your shares as passive income, like that still counts, so it doesn't, don't get like hypnotized into thinking that you need something that offers a dividend or yield for it to count as passive income, is my point.
I love that. And if you just think about real estate in particular, real estate carefully chosen, strategically chosen, will appreciate in value. And so my latest thing appreciated it's 2.5 times what it was worth when I got it like 3 or 4 years ago. How great is that?
That is great.
And you don't always have that fast. That's very fast appreciation. But I had it happen with a property in Peru. It more than doubled. And if I had not divorced, I should have held on to that. My daughter was just saying to me, because my ex-husband is Peruvian, she's like, Mom, why did you sell that? I was like, I couldn't keep it. I couldn't keep it with, I couldn't buy him out. And I also just wanted to be done with it. But it was a waterfront, gorgeous property with green underneath. And now, guess what? In Lima, the best section I knew it would. I said this would happen. The best section has expanded and includes this neighborhood, right? So real estate, you have to think about the appreciation there that you're getting. And that I like what you're saying about it doesn't have to be a yield or a check that you're getting. It's either compounded interest. It's, what are the other forms? Real estate. It could be, I know you started with some vending machines, right?
Yeah, I do. I got a little vending machine. I put M&Ms on one side, peanut M&Ms on the other, put it at my fencing club. That was a 60% ROI on like
Wow.
the little M&M machine. So then I got a second M&M machine and I put it at a Mexican restaurant here in town.
Yeah.
And so I started building my little vending machine empire. But then after that, I kind of like scaled up into real estate. So I never placed more than 2 of them, but that was a great place to start.
Yeah.
And a great experience overall, the other thing you sparked something in me, which real estate. Okay, so real estate, you've got the rent, you've got the appreciation. You can also do forced appreciation by increasing their rent. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can make money. And one of the things that very few people talk about that I don't think is obvious in the wealth building is typically in your wealth building journey, when you're going towards creating financial freedom, there's like a growth phase and an income phase. So if you think about the goose that laid the golden eggs, there's a phase where you're like growing the golden goose. You're reinvesting the dividends. The property is appreciating, and maybe you're 1031ing it to another property. There's like it's growing, but you're still working. You don't need the golden eggs yet, so you just put all the golden eggs back into growing a bigger golden goose. And then there comes a point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to live off the golden eggs, right? And then you kind of transition to the income part where it's like, okay, now how do I get my golden goose to lay as many golden eggs as possible because I'm living off of those now? And when it comes to real estate specifically, there are some markets that are better for growth and some markets that are better for income. So if you are in the growth phase of your journey, then you really want to look at the appreciation potential. And if you're at the income stage of your journey, you might want to look at like what's going to maximize cash flow. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. It just makes me think about, okay, so coming back from the podcasters cruise, I had an interesting Uber driver. And somehow we got on the subject of Airbnb and he was like, oh, how would I do that? So of course I gave him my affiliate link, right? And told him all about how I could help him set it up so it wouldn't be a headache because he's looking at a property in Texas. He has a property. It would be long distance for him to do. And I said, you're going to really have to be careful there. Things like, smoke detection systems, things that you're going to need, and property managers that you're absolutely going to need that far away. But he was saying, I had a client who would use me over and over in Pinehurst, North Carolina with all the golfing. What he did is he had $1 million home there. And he really didn't want to, as he was nearing retirement, he wanted to go elsewhere and he didn't really want to live in that $1 million home anymore. It was a lot to clean or have cleaned and a lot of maintenance, as we pointed out earlier. So he went down to Mexico, to Isla de las Mujeres, and he found a real estate building with 4 units. And he bought it for the same price. He sold his house for a little over $1 million, and he lives in one of them, and he Airbnbs the other 3.
So
hello,
cool. Yeah.
Hello, perfect, right? And so he's got his place to live. He just, he worked it out. He got freedom. He's in a beautiful place. He's overlooking the ocean. He has the Airbnb that he can have. He has people clean it and do that other stuff. This is another thing, Penelope, we should point out to everybody that people who don't believe or don't know much about real estate don't know this. It is such a great tax write-off. There's so much that is a tax write-off. And so if you're working another job, a job, or you're doing that four-letter word work somewhere else, you can use your real estate deductions and losses and gains, whatever. You can offset what you're making in your job, right? And this can lower your taxes. So that's another thing. Anyway, we could just talk forever, couldn't we, Penelope? This has been so much fun. You all, we've covered a lot of information. I hope you hear that you need to go and get education, and what better place to do it than Financial Freedom 101. So one last comment, Penelope, from you. Oh, y'all look for the magic link, of course. What is one last thing you would say to everyone that is really essential wherever they are in their journey? What is really essential for them to always keep in mind as they're earning and spending and saving and investing?
Well, I was, I was scrolling through social media, as I do sometimes, as we do, and I saw this meme, and it didn't say like who it was by or anything, but it just stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, "This is it. This is the thing. This is this is the queen of all memes." And it said, "Do something today that your future self will thank you for." Do something today that your future self will thank you for. And that's what this is about. This is really like taking loving care of your future self. Like when I think about everything that my past self went through, recovering from the whole real estate crash and the bankruptcy and rebuilding rather than giving up, like I could have given up, right? At
Yeah.
that point. And to be able to rise like a phoenix in the ashes and rebuild the life that I have now, the my past self creating the freedom that I have now. I am so grateful. And so I really invite you to like get into that prosperity cycle, start investing month in and month out, or if you're already investing, like to continue. If you're already past the growth stage and into the income stage, even continuing to increase your financial education and see if you can safely get your golden goose growing more golden eggs, but like continue the journey so that your future self is set up for success.
I love that. And especially those of you all who are using that excuse for not starting your passionate, purposeful, profitable business, that you don't have money. Yeah, that's an excuse. I'm calling you out right now. And it's going to take some investment. You know what I say? If you want to get into six figures, you're really going to be investing probably at least 20K, at least. And if you want to be and stay there and move up there, you're going to invest more. I've had years where I invested like over 35K in personal and professional development. Why? Because that's what's necessary. So it's an investment in you. Well, you all, what a great episode this has been, hasn't it? Would you comment? Would you share? Share it with your poor friends. Don't tell them that I said that, but they'll find it out at the end. Share it with your poor friends. Share it with your poor mouthing friends. Share it with the starving artists. Oh my God, I have a whole series for the artists because I can't stand that. It's like you all can make a lot of money and bring your gifts to the world.
Well,
My whole thing
share
is
with your loving, prosperous, wealthy friends as well, too, please.
yeah, share it with them for sure. Yeah, share it with the in-betweeners because, Penelope's going to meet you, as she said before, she'll meet you where you are. It's not just for people in financial crisis, but there are a number of people who are experiencing that right now. So this is just a resource. You have a resource here that can really assist you wherever you are in your journey. And everybody, not only look for the magic link, but also be sure to go to www.spirited-solutions. Don't forget the dash because you'll get a boring computer company. Spirited-solutions.com and avail yourself of how to overcome overwhelm in 7 easy steps, which is going to help you because I'm sure some of you are already feeling overwhelmed with what we talked about. No time for shame, no time for excuses. This is bold, badass business. And the reason you're here is you are, even if you don't know it, you are already a bold, badass business owner. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Penelope. I'll see you all next week, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Don't miss a single episode and go kick ass this week.